I'm the Digital Communications Manager for the Canadian Education Association. We're a knowledge mobilizer. We focus on getting research-based evidence into the hands of educators, not only teachers, but also administrators, board trustees, superintendents. Basically to affect change on a pan-Canadian scale. There are some people doing some great stuff out there, and nobody else knows, so let's spread the word. My role, as it often turns out to be, is taking very complicated concepts and then, especially on social media platforms, condensing them into accessible language. So I do that for social media. I'm now helping us with a rebrand in order to sort of take the academic jargon out of a lot of this research, evidence-based practices, so that it's so much easier for people to digest and then take those learnings and apply it in the classroom. So in addition to, social media management and digital marketing and copywriting and copy editing, I'm also the champion of a new brand image, one that fits better with the online age, where you have to deal with, of course, limited attention spans and limited time to get your point across. I did a bachelor's in English and creative writing. And then when I decided I didn't want to be a reclusive novelist full-time, I decided that I needed a little something else in order to sort of integrate my love of language and my love of tech. So I did a Master's in Digital Experience Innovation through University of Waterloo Stratford, and that really helped open my eyes to the vocabulary and the industry and job positions that I could target myself towards, so that my only option for being tech person who likes to write, at first I was only really aware of technical writing, which seemed a little too hard science for me. I wanted to take a little bit more creativity into that, and so that's what helped me also bring in the project management skills and the online marketing skills that I could use in order to bring my skills to bear in a more technological setting. Being aware and being empathetic to the situation that your reader doesn't have a lot of time on their hands. They're either skimming through a rushing river of a Twitter feed, or they're browsing through articles in, say, Feedly or another aggregator, and they don't have time to sort out the wheat from the chaff. And using creativity with the language in order to create maybe a snappier title, or in order to break down the point a little bit more, throw in a question that may actually grab their attention, let them know, hey, there's actually something to be gained here. I work with a very small team. We are 6 people and a dog. The dog is not tweeting. And so I really get to take a lot of agency with what I do. And I am collaborating with my communications director and with the editors we have for our magazine, which is where a lot of our most pointed content comes from. So we already do have these topics that a themed issue is centered around. And so I go from there, and then I can go to Twitter and do a tag dive and see, the people who are talking about this, what kind of groups are they in? What are they talking about? What tags are they using? So I'm able to leverage that to get the content into the right conversations. It's a little trickier on Facebook, where things are very limited. But we do also populate a lot of content there. LinkedIn we normally, of course, reserve for more business-like communications, including awards that we put out. We do a lot of innovation awards for educators, and so that's one of the places where we like to share their professional success. But for the most part, it's very simple. We're a nonprofit, we don't have much budget, and so it's often just sending things out through Hootsuite, keeping an eye on the conversation. You have your columns for the different topics, because of course we're also looking for French conversations happening around our brand. Because we're a pan-Canadian organization, it's very important for us to have that presence in Quebec and in New Brunswick. So, tag diving in French is a little more complicated. They tend to use keywords, but not as much hashtags, and certainly not the combined hashtags that we like to use in English. So that's been an ongoing challenge. It's always fun to see where they like to congregate. And then I also manage the website, and we're tagging content on there, so I always have that baseline of topics to bring from, because I'm not an educator. And so I get that insight from the other members of my team, like, okay, this is what it's called. These are some other words we've used for it in the past. And like, these are current trends that are very hot right now. These are trends that have fallen out of favor. And that helps me get the message out to people it might be relevant to. Our print channel is Education Canada magazine. It's a bilingual magazine. And it's not mirrored one for one. If it's a French author, they write a French article. If it's an English author, they write an English article. And we very seldom translate them, mostly because we just like their words to stand as they are. If it's a very popular article, we will have it translated, just because we feel it's important that we get the message out to as many people as possible. Our print magazines tend to go out to school boards, any school boards that are members of our organization, and we also use it as events, as a promotion piece. That helps us keep the lights on with advertising, but we've had to, of course, move more towards online advertising, because that has a growing market. Especially, we've noticed there are a lot more people browsing our content on tablet and mobile, so we're having to adapt to that, and we do have a new website in the works, because it's been a few years, and so it's exciting for me to be the champion of responsive design in that respect. Our events are usually, we'll have a big one each year, and it'll be a symposium surrounding a particular theme, and we'll bring in, of course, researchers and educators, so that we can bring in those perspectives of, this is what's happening, this is why it works, this is what the research shows, and these are the results that people are getting. Like, this is hard evidence, and you should be bringing it in your classrooms. So last year we had an event on neuroscience, so the ways that students' brains work and the ways that they learn best. This year we focused on First Nations schools. So whichever label that you prefer, First Nations, Aboriginal, Indigenous, the focus was really on how can we adapt teaching and improve education, not just for Indigenous students, but for everyone, but incorporating that Indigenous history and those ways of learning and knowing. So that was awesome to bring all those perspectives together. Definitely very exciting stuff, and then we put together videos from the events. We always have a Twitter back channel going. The neuroscience event actually ended up trending 8th in Canada those days. That was exciting. So we're shifting our language a lot in order to get away from the outdated language of calling ourselves an association. We are a member-based organization, but association sounds a little old hat. So we're going to be reframing ourselves as a network, which does really reinforce the more active role that we have, bringing people together, having events, getting people's opinions, making sure that they're heard. And so that perspective is, of course, bringing us up to date. And how that's affecting the magazine is that, of course, no one's really making money with a magazine in this day. But that's okay. The magazine is a tangible benefit that network members will get. We don't have to make money on that. It's a little hard to sell advertisers on paying as much for digital advertising, which is very fleeting, and print advertising. Even though they're getting more views from it. So that's something where the industry still needs to catch up to us a little bit, but we're moving towards that because that's where the eyeballs are. And of course, our magazine, most of that content is also mirrored online because those are our biggest traffic drivers. We have digital ads on those. We'll be able to serve responsive ads with our new website, which is going to be great because right now it's a little bit rigid. And we have noticed so much traffic is through mobile devices now. So we are really shooting ourselves in the foot anytime we hesitate to get with those best practices. So I've had the great luck of being part of a team that knows they need to make this change. Not only with the rebrand and the change of language around our organization, but with the website and with the way we curate the conversations around our events. I'm just really lucky that everyone sees the need for this, and I don't have to be fighting for like, we need social media and we need responsive design because, come on, it's 2016. I shouldn't be having to fight for those anyway. We've outsourced the web project, but we're doing a lot of the rebrand in-house because we have so many connections within the industry and outside of the industry that allow us to get outside perspectives, so we're not just all in this echo chamber saying, yes, let's call ourselves a network. Yes, we'll be a network. Okay. Everyone will understand what a network does. It gives us a chance to talk to people, and we thought that we were going to be getting all this feedback on our logo and on the imagery, but because it's so tied to our magazine already, the imagery wasn't anything surprising and people didn't focus on it at all. They were saying, okay, that's great. Like, we don't have anything to say about your logo. It's what's behind it. Is your mandate going to change in order to reflect this new brand? Because if it's not, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. My previous position in a for-profit company was very fast-paced. It was exciting. It was always on the go. It was meetings all the time, but meetings that got things done. There wasn't any waiting for consensus, and it was just like, this is what we're doing. We're gonna meet again in 2 days. Let's go. So that was exciting. We were able to do a lot of things. We did need a lot of approvals, and of course everything has to go through the client. You get revisions. So there was a big difference there between being in an agency that works for clients and then being the client. It's a total shift of power there. And being in a nonprofit, of course, the pace is slower. The people aren't as hungry. They're a little more relaxed. They know that, everyone's got stuff to do. You can leave at 5, you can leave at 5:30. Nobody worries about that. There's no pressure to stay late and keep at the grind, and the focus is more on what the things that you're doing, what that means. The focus is on, are we getting done what needs to get done? because it doesn't matter how many hours you're putting in if it's not actually affecting any change, if it's not actually, getting out there and reaching people. So the focus was a lot more, perhaps, on intangible results. And it was nice. It's nice now not having to record where every 15 minutes of my time goes. That was a big change. It also means you have to be a lot more accountable to yourself and accountable to your peers, and you have to set your own internal deadlines a lot. So that was a big shift. And especially the timelines people were giving me were incredible. Like, okay, you can give me a week to get this done. I can take a week, but give me 2 days. I'm used to 2 days. It was a really nice change of pace. It was really nice being able to change from working for someone else's profit to working for a cause that I believed in. Which isn't to say that I wouldn't go back into for profit. I'm definitely considering it because you can onboard so many skills so quickly. But it's also really nice to be in not-for-profit and get to be the expert on things and have people really listen to you without as many hierarchical barriers. I would say one of my biggest challenges was managing my own schedule. Because I didn't have so many meetings and deadlines anymore, I had to start managing my own priorities, my own timelines, and I had to just start telling people when I would get stuff to them. And I would have to tell them early. I would say, okay, I'll have this to you by end of day Thursday. And they'd be like, oh, well, I don't need it that fast. Don't tell me that, I'm giving it to you then. And then we can do reviews, and that's fine, and we have time for that, and we're laughing. But I found that I just wasn't effective. If I worked within those timelines that were given to me, I would still just be doing them at the last minute and not optimally. I've tried a lot of digital tools. Trello is really nice, and Google Tasks are pretty handy too, but in the end, I have a large enough screen that I can just have part of that screen just be my to-do list, and I have to have 2 parts. I have to be the immediate part and then the longer term part. And then I have those always sitting there, because if you start to get a little stressed, you might stop looking at your list because you don't want to think about all the things that are coming down the pipe. But if it's just there all the time, you can just glance over and go, that's right, I need to check that one off. And it's a little harder to keep hiding from all the things that are coming. Confidence is everything. People don't want a wishy-washy answer. If they want your advice on something, they want to know you're sure of it. And if you try to hedge your bets by saying I think or maybe or something like that, which especially women are conditioned to use a lot, don't, because then they'll want another opinion and you'll be, stuck having to just do the research, answer it confidently yourself, and don't leave any doubts. You can own the direction that you know things need to go, and you don't have to rely on other people to make that decision for you. I think that for women especially, there's always a line you can walk between being, overbearing and threatening and just supportive and sure of yourself. You don't have to talk over anyone or go over anyone's head or do any of the things that traditionally men are socialized to do. And they are socialized to interrupt you and to, be a little unreceptive of perhaps opposing ideas. But you don't have to dig your heels in and stick to your guns and play the aggressive game. You can be diplomatic. You can just worm your way in and just say, that's a really great point. And that reminds me that we haven't tried this either. And I think that, you've made a really good point. You can have your little sandwich of, I'm not threatening your ego, and here's another direction we could go. Thanks for making that happen for us. And then you don't end up in that power struggle, because those are going to happen. Those are going to happen, and we've all been socialized, women included, to dislike aggressive women figures. We can't help it. We've been trained to do this. And so you don't have to be aggressive, but you can be clever. I think the fact that I get to do so many things with my day, that's one of the huge benefits of being in a small team, is that anything digital, I get to get my fingers in. I can be like drafting strategies one minute and then be, tactical hands-on shooting video the next. And you never really know what you're going to be called on to do next. And opportunities come up, and you can always say, hey, we're doing that event, let's put a tweet wall up. And then people are going to be like, oh, I don't know if we can I don't know if we have the budget for that. And then it's up to you to go do the research, bring up the numbers, and say, well, better sponsors would really like having their logos up there too. And so you gotta find the strings that people have, but you can just kind of say, okay, I've got this idea, and I think I can make it work with your priorities.